This afternoon I'm talking with Janet Rankin as part of the ACSM's Distinguished Leaders Series in Sports Medicine and Exercise Science. So welcome, Janet.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. One of the first things I wanted to do was, if you would, is just go back a little bit. High school, early college time, where you grew up, went to school, were sports an interest to you then, and start with maybe where you went to undergrad school and what you majored in and that type of thing.
Okay, going way back.
Yeah.
I grew up in Pittsburgh, in a suburb of Pittsburgh. My father was a physician, and I mention that because I think that had a lot to do with my interest in science and health and that kind of thing. And went as an undergraduate to Duke University and majored in biology, basically there. And then thought...
Pre-med, sort of, you think,
well,
at the time, or
actually, with my dad being a doctor, I did not want to be a physician.
You knew that ahead? Yeah, I don't want to do this.
Because I saw that it was a very difficult life with a family, at least in the way it was at that time. So I was searching for something to do related to health, related to science, that was not physician. And my last year at Duke, I was able to look for exploring for some extra classes that I had room for, and I found one nutrition class in the medical school at Duke and an exercise physiology class in their physical therapy program that they allowed me entrance to. Well, then I said, this is what I'm interested in. This is what I want to do. So I asked those faculty, what are some good schools in these areas? I have no idea. And one of them steered me towards University of California at Davis. And it turns out they have very strong programs in both those areas. So I entered the nutrition program at UC Davis and minored in exercise physiology. So I went over there. They didn't have a formal connection, but I would go over and take classes there. And ultimately, I did a minor in that area and did my research on the effect of exercise and obesity in an animal model. So got that combination.
So this is for an MS or whatever the degree
no,
would have been?
PhD. I went actually directly from the bachelor's.
Oh,
I don't
you
have a
did?
master's.
Oh, so well, well, a lot of programs are like that, where you just go straight through.
That's right.
Those that drop out get a master's and see you later type thing. Did you have a big interest in physical activity and sports as a high school or undergrad at Duke, or what?
I played field hockey and even basketball way back when women were not allowed to go past the middle line. So it goes back a long time.
It was 3 divisions at one point for women's basketball. A third of the court.
So it was a long, long time ago. But I did play field hockey all the way through high school and swam competitively. And then when I went to Duke, I did play field hockey just a year or two, and then got focused more on the academics and stayed there.
What were the years you were at Duke, and what was the time period then at Davis?
Okay, I was 1973 to 77 at Duke, and then 77 to 82 at UC Davis.
So about 5 years, and you have your Ph.D.
Right.
What was your dissertation in again?
It was on the effect of exercise on development of obesity in a genetically obese rat model that they still use, the Zucker obese rat. So we literally swam the rats.
Is that a breed?
Yes.
I remember that.
It's got a genetic defect for a variety of problems similar to metabolic syndrome, obese, high triglycerides, hyperinsulinemic.
So this is an animal model that mimics some of those things.
Yes,
I see.
And Paul Millay, for example, he's someone that was very involved in ACSM years ago, was sort of my mentor within that department, within the exercise physiology department. He has since passed away, but he helped me in how to develop that training model.
Yeah, because that had been something that they were doing in exercise physiology earlier, of course.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
so you went straight. All right, you went straight through, and then I guess what's the next step after you got your Ph.D.?
Well, and actually one thing that just came to me that I should mention too, while I was there for my Ph.D., I became an exercise test technologist, which was one of the very old certifications that ACSM has.
Was that your first connection then?
I think that was the first involvement. Bob Hawley, I believe, was the name of the guy at UC Davis who was a director of that certification workshop. And so I received that certification, and that faculty group were the ones that told me about ACSM. The nutrition department mainly went to experimental biology and American Dietetic Association, different meetings and societies. But when it came time for me to present my dissertation work, I did go to experimental biology, but a different part of my research, I decided on my own, and my advisor agreed to it, to go to ACSM.
Okay.
So, you know,
and that's the physical activity part.
Yes.
That was the appropriate outlet, really, I think.
Right. And so I think that it was Denver.
I was going to ask you when it was.
I think it was 1981, and I believe it was Denver. That I went with a lot of the other graduate students, packed into a room together, and had a free communication session that I was very nervous for. But at that first meeting, I met people that I am friends with today through this organization. One, for example, Larry Durstein. He did his research on the Zucker obese rat. So we were in the same session, talked to each other afterwards.
I'll be darned.
So to this day, we're still friends.
That's, I hear this over and over and over, the same examples, basically, of running. And Stella was talking about how far you two go back, too. So, it's very interesting how that, and I think that's one of the strengths of the college, of course, is the friendships and how open people are and polite and helpful. And
I think right away, you know, I did go to 2 meetings that to present my research, and there's a reason that I have stuck with ACSM. I felt more comfortable. I felt welcomed. It was eclectic backgrounds of different people, but they all were working together in a similar direction. So it felt right immediately. So that is the primary organization I've continued with.
Now, do you well, I better pick up chronologically. So you get your Ph.D., then what was the next step, or next stop, I should say?
Then I was applying for positions and ended up taking an assistant professor position at Virginia Tech, and it was they were advertising for someone with a Ph.D. in nutrition or exercise physiology. So I looked at that and said, oh, this might be interesting. They want this combination. So ultimately, I did get that job and went to Virginia Tech in Blacksburg, Virginia.
When was that?
That was 1982. Just right after I finished the Ph.D. And I did actually think I'd just stay a few years, but I'm coming up on 29 years being at that institution. So
you obviously like it there. They like you.
Yes, and it's changed a lot since I've been there. I've gotten much more of a research focus than when I first came there. It's reorganized a number of different times, and such that I came in a department of health and physical education, but then we ended up removing the exercise science group to merge with nutrition. So now we, you know, perfect for me. So it actually,
I was going to say, it's actually ideal for you.
Me, yes.
Did the exercise phys people stay on campus, though, but just in a different structure?
Department. Yes, just a different
Are you all in the
structure.
same college, or are they in a separate college as well?
Well, education folks stayed with
So they were in
previous
education?
College. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Because the health and physical education was in education because historically PE, you know, we grew out of PE.
Yes.
So it made sense, though, as time went on, for the exercise science group to break off and move more with a health focus. and out of education. So currently we're a Department of Human Nutrition, Foods, and Exercise, and it absolutely was the right thing at the right time.
So are they with you now again with the exercise?
Nutrition is, not education.
Okay, but you said exercise.
Right.
So
I was part of the exercise science group. I was hired into health and physical education, health and phys ed. Exercise science was within that group.
Okay, so we're the exercise physiologists, I guess, is what I'm
That's
asking.
it. Yeah.
They're there.
Yeah,
then.
Bill Herbert, for example,
Oh yeah,
my
I know.
colleague.
Yeah, oh I know
Bill
him.
Herbert,
Sure. Okay.
Ron Boss.
Okay, so you're where you're at the right place, really.
Yes.
As far as okay,
Yeah.
I see now.
So I actually, even
I
though my
see.
Ph.D. was nutrition, I was basically hired into an exercise
I see
science,
now.
exercise
Okay.
physiology
Okay.
department, and then later merged with nutrition.
I'm with you now.
Yeah.
Now nutrition is part of the title.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
So it came all
So
together.
have they moved you into administration?
Yes.
That's usually the next step.
Yes. Okay, you guessed it.
Whether good or bad, but
Yeah. When you've been in an institution that long, usually in some way, shape, or form. So,
Yeah.
in fact, I have done several different administrative positions, including acting department head at one point when my department head became suddenly very ill and had to leave, and also director of a research institute for a while, Institute for Biomedical and Public Health Sciences.
Ooh,
It was
that
a
would
new
sounds neat.
institute that I helped to kick off and worked there for 3 years. And currently, I have a half-time position as Associate Dean in the Graduate School at Virginia Tech, but then also keep half-time in my department, teaching, research, and working with
so you've been able to, that's usually what happens. You get to research and then, or you get to the admin and something's got to give,
Yeah.
you know, so
Yeah,
the half,
mostly I just
half
cut
might
it
be
down.
the way to do it.
Yeah, everything had to reduce a little bit,
Sure.
but I'm trying to maintain that.
So you're one of the deans and your department is part of the
Not in
college?
the same unit, no.
Oh,
We
okay.
have a graduate school that is
Okay.
basically the university graduate school. So I'm part
I
of that.
see.
And of course, we have graduate programs that intersect with that.
Yes.
But there's a separate college, the College Agriculture and Life Sciences, that
Which is
houses
where
my department.
your professorial rank is
That's
in
right.
that department.
That's right,
I get
yes.
it. Okay. That sounds like a neat setup.
Yeah. No, I like it. It's a little schizophrenic in that half day I'm in this office
Right.
and half day I'm
Which
in this
hat
office.
am I wearing today?
And emails come in, to different places. But I think when you have done one thing for a long time, you get ready for a change. Stretch a little bit, try something a little bit different. At the administration level, you do have the ability to have an impact on a broader group instead of just your classes or your department.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
the value of
And
that.
you've been there long enough to get the lay of the land.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know what's going on and who's doing what. And,
Yeah.
So you told me a little bit about your connection with ACSM, of
Mm-hmm.
course, but there's another layer, and that is becoming a fellow, committee meetings, boards of trustees,
Mm-hmm.
editorial boards. Congratulations, president-elect.
Oh, thank you.
Know,
Yes.
that type
Right.
of thing. Do you sort of remember how
Yes.
that all happened?
Yes, well, as I said, that first meeting definitely got me interested in this organization. Then, as it would happen, the first position that I took, that, as I described, was really in an exercise science group. Bill Herbert, who you know, was very involved with ACSM. And then my department head at the time, Ron Boss, was the executive director for the regional chapter that we
Oh,
were in, the Southeast
Yeah.
American College of Sports Medicine.
Yeah, sure.
So both of them were very influential in encouraging me to attend the Southeast meeting and then to get further involved. So I still, am very involved in that chapter. I feel strongly about the value of regional chapters in ACSM, and that really helped me get started more in this field, so in leadership capacity. So I first got elected to their board, and then later as president of the Southeast region, and sort of simultaneously in step would get appointed to some committees at the national level. and then became on the board at National ACSM, and then 5-6 years later, vice president, and then maybe another 5-6 years later, just got elected to president. So, in my mind, the regional chapter was absolutely critical in my connecting with ACSM.
So many people have said that, that I've interviewed, almost universally.
Yeah.
That how important the regional chapters have been. And that's really neat that ACSM really has done that for a long, long time.
Yes.
And they're still going and powerful and have their place.
Yes. I think it's much less intimidating, not that, the national is overly intimidating, but especially for a new person, or if you're coming from a small institution.
Yes.
It's and students.
Or students, yeah,
Students.
exactly.
We have at least 50% of the people at our annual meeting at the regional level are students, undergraduates and graduate students. So they can feel comfortable right away in a welcoming atmosphere. And then some people move from there on to national, but usually maintain their involvement. Our chapter, for example, has a past president's lunch.
Oh.
And what's amazing is, I don't know the exact number, but last year when I looked around the table, there were at least 20 of the past presidents
That's
who
super.
Attend that meeting on a regular basis.
That's nice for the students to see, too.
Yes.
And to keep that leadership. And well, so the Southeast, is that, I mean, that must be huge.
It goes
to
from Virginia
Florida, doesn't
to
it?
Florida,
Yeah, and then
to Louisiana, Kentucky.
yeah,
So it's quite a large
Tennessee, Georgia,
geographical.
all that. So the next one is New England above you?
No.
Where's Pennsylvania?
Mid-Atlantic.
Oh, Mid-Atlantic.
Yes.
Okay. So you're the northernmost state
Yes.
probably in the Southeast.
In that region, yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's big.
But it's amazing. We get a great turnout every year to our annual meeting. We do try to move it around a little bit, but people are willing to travel because it's such a high-quality meeting, and it's a great networking opportunity. We have a graduate fair, so students want to come and be able to talk to faculty from different institutions.
That's nice. That's a good idea.
Yes.
And you have, what, a newsletter too, probably?
Yeah, sure. A newsletter. There's some job postings, a variety of other services like that.
So you've probably had quite a few graduate students over the years.
Yes, and I could not give you the number.
No, we're not going to ask for the details, but
Yeah.
I think one of the things I've seen in talking to a lot of people is how much they've enjoyed and benefited from graduate students. And
Yes.
the value of that.
Right. And you mentioned Stella.
Yes,
Volpe,
of course, yeah.
And she was one of my earliest master's students at Virginia Tech. And now we have stayed together as roommates at the annual meeting for many, many years. So you develop these connections that open up new connections and professional as well as personal friendships. So it's just an evolving family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, have you gotten involved with the summits at all?
A little bit. I've presented sometimes at the summits. I'm not involved in the program committee, but
I would think
presented
what you're
there.
doing would be really valuable to that audience.
Yeah.
I can see where they would really benefit from that.
Yes, some of the practical nutrition.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
And how about the journals? Have you
Yes.
done editorial board or
Right.
anything?
Yeah, I'm an associate editor for MSSE right now.
Okay.
And I've been a contributor to, Fit Society. I think I have an article in this past issue, and have been on the board for the
Health and Fitness Journal.
Yes.
Okay.
So various different positions along the way with publications.
I was very impressed. I went to the summit this year and interviewed some people, but they had a huge section on nutrition. And talking to some of the practitioners there, they were saying that that's what they get asked about.
Yeah.
You know, those out there on the firing line, their clients want to know what to eat, what about supplements, you know, and it seems like it's becoming even more of an issue than 10 years ago,
Right.
which I thought it had reached its peak. But
Yeah. Well, the public, when they think about health, they're not considering, oh, you are an exercise person. They look at you as an expert related to health and lifestyle issues. So they're likely to come up with a variety of questions, and certainly people recognize that exercise as well as diet is important for health. So I think it's important for our certified individuals and professionals to have an understanding of basic healthy diet. And be able to answer some of those questions or know who to refer to.
yeah, I think that if you don't know the answer, at least know who to refer them to.
Yes.
Well, maybe it's just me, but it seems like we're being inundated by supplement stuff. And it keeps changing. Looking at it from a layman's perspective, on what do? Do I take D? Do I take C? Do I take fish oil? I mean, what can we do?
Yeah, it's very confusing.
Yeah.
And the FDA and the FTC try to keep up on some of this, but they cannot
Yeah,
keep
they're
up on
always a
everything.
couple steps ahead, aren't they?
Right, right. So you can always go to their websites to see if there's any warnings that have been put out on certain supplements. And every year they have a variety that they warn you about that are adulterated with some contamination or something like that. But the other thing is you can go to websites like the Office of Dietary Supplements that's done by the government.
Oh, I didn't even know there was such a thing.
Yes,
Okay.
and they have a variety of one-pager kind of documents that tell you about what evidence there is of efficacy, what kind of risks are involved, and
that's
general
nice.
recommendations. So I would tend to go to sources like that to find out about supplements. But as you say, often the companies are one step ahead. They've come out with a new one. And in that case, I would go to a professional, and they
Right.
should have the skills. What I teach my students is how to investigate that. So how do you go to the scientific literature and evaluate that evidence?
That's what I think the public doesn't have that wherewithal.
Yes, right, no.
And that's what I was sort of getting at. How do we get that out to people? Does ACSM maybe have a role, and could they do a better job at that? Or the American Dietetic, I'm not sure where that would go.
Yeah, well, certainly there are some position stands that tackle a little bit of these things, and American Dietetic Association has some position stands that would mention, and there's a sports nutrition position stand that's joint between ACSM and ADA that touches on some
Oh,
of
I've
this.
seen that. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's good. That's
But
very
on
good.
the latest, cutting edge kind of things, it's difficult to keep up. These organizations don't always keep up. So I do think we have to encourage people to go to professionals that are certified by ACSM, for example, or registered dietitian that might have additional training in sports nutrition, for example, and know more about the supplements. But it's a continuing thing. It's never going to stop.
Yeah, and
So you
I
have to
see
keep up to date.
now with my students, they're so reliant on the web. That's good news and it's bad news, because depending on what you Google and what
Yes.
pops up there, oh, this is the greatest thing that ever happened, buy it now,
Right, right.
versus, gee, this is scary stuff,
Yes,
and
right. And figuring out how you weed through those.
Exactly,
And
yeah.
in the one class that I just got finished teaching this spring, I throw a few things like that at the students. They're senior students and they've had a lot of background. So I give them a case, and an individual athlete who comes to you and says, oh, I found that this was on the internet and these claims were made. What do I do? So
Great
the
idea.
student has to go and identify websites and or research articles, and then justify to me how they would respond to that individual.
oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, so practicing those skills and general things like tending to use government websites or professional society
Right.
websites over commercial.
Exactly,
commercial
that want to
sites.
sell you something.
Yes, yeah.
So
yeah.
these are seniors that are majoring in nutrition? Or-
Well, they're most of them are actually, we call it exercise and health promotion.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, so they're tend to be more exercise background, but they're getting some knowledge in a nutrition angle.
Nice.
We do have some dietetic students, though, in our department who also would take this class. So they might go on to be a RD or sports nutritionist.
Okay. Sounds like a good, very neat program.
It's a fun class to teach.
Yeah,
really
that would be
that.
very nice. Back to ACSM quickly. Again, you've been in the organization a long time, and now you're coming into another leadership role. Any comments, perspective on how things have changed over time and sort of where we're at and what we're doing, and are we doing the right thing, and not necessarily putting you on the spot for your new role, but just from what you've seen backwards, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely, a lot of change, and some of it comes home when I received some of the numbers, for example, from Sue Hilt, one of our staff members, about previous submissions to the annual meeting. And you know, they were maybe 500 submissions back when I first started in the organization. Now, you know, over 1,000, you know, sessions and this and that. So just the membership numbers have skyrocketed, but in addition, the initiatives and our reach, our impact has tremendously grown. That we used to be, you know, all about our members and serving our members, which is still what we're doing, but now we're trying to go beyond that. Can we affect policy? Can we impact, you know, the practice of medicine? Can we impact the way people are teaching certain things, the general health of the public? So I see many initiatives that have been developing over time that have huge impact, and it makes it very exciting to be part of it.
Yeah, you know, just thinking back that, you know, traditionally with basically exercise science, you didn't have a whole lot of applicability. Well, physical education classes or whatever, but this, where we're at now with physical activity, obesity, and so forth, is major public health issues. It's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. And we're becoming more and more known as the experts, the go-to people for media, for government, for the public, hopefully, as a resource. And we have the expertise. You know, we have the medical, the education, the health professionals, to be able to handle that and to come at these very complex problems with this multidisciplinary approach.
Yeah, you know that someone knows about this.
Yes.
You know that, okay, over here they can do this and they can do this. That'll be, you'll have fun.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I'm really excited. And it's been, as you said, a long time in coming, and I didn't mention before, but I have twins, and part of the reason I wanted to avoid getting into the position I am in now until this point is that they were at home and I had the conflict of travel. So they've just gone on to college, and that makes me even more excited to be able to focus and put a lot of energy into
that's
this.
neat. Perfect timing.
Yes, so I feel very lucky and excited about the opportunity.
Yeah, and you get to work with Barbara and people, you know, because it's sort of almost a 4-year, you know, president-elect, president, past president, and so forth. So you better like who you're working with.
Right, and a lot of what I've been doing this week is asking all those people for their advice and their thoughts, because they have so much experience and perspective that I'm trying to hear before I get involved in that role.
Yeah. Well, anyhow, thank you so much, Janet.
Okay.
Told you 30 minutes just goes like that. So
good.
I really appreciate you taking the time to talk. And
sure. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.